Design thinking is an emerging and evolving field that focuses on the creation of well thought through experiences. Not only does it use a solution-based approach to solving problems, it also revolves around developing an understanding of the people for whom we're designing the products and services. My guest today is Speaker Post member Niket. Welcome, Niket.
Thank you.
Niket, you're a lot of things, right? You're an entrepreneur, you're a faculty for design thinking, you're a tech educator, you're an author, you're a leadership coach, podcaster, blogger. I mean, you even have an entire website dedicated to design thinking.
Yes.
And it has content that millions can actually access. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited to speak with you today. Of course, today's conversation will be very general, but a little bit focused on students. And also maybe partly focused on India because you're based in India. So let's start here. Like, why design thinking? How did you fall into it?
Oh, very interesting, Komal. I was actually talking to my professor with whom I did elective in tool design when I was in my engineering college. And I got chatting up with him because I'm writing a book on design thinking right now. And I said, sir, do you know, I don't know why, but when I was young, I took up this whole elective of tool design where there were only 8 students in the class. Everybody else took the, automobile engineering and other things. I guess since the childhood, I had design thinking, which was a part of me. I love design thinking for sure. And there was always a designer active within me. I always caught this whole idea of design, and actually my entrepreneurial journey has been about designing an organization.
So when we talk
and then
about
I realized,
design, so Niket, what
yes,
exactly are we talking about? Let's at least get that definition down. What is it?
but design is basically you plan and you make something and you execute it. That's purely what design is, and therefore it has both the creative element as well as the rational element, and therefore design thinking is highly scientific in its nature. Not many people realize that design thinking, many feel that design thinking is abstract, but it's not. It requires a very well trained scientific mind to really get deep into design thinking.
Okay. And so after engineering, you just fell into design thinking? You just chose?
Not actually. There was a massive break. I got into corporate life. Though I'm a mechanical engineer, I moved into information technology because way back in '87, it was a young thing to do. But then when I moved on to entrepreneurship and, behavioral sciences really excited me. There was a psychologist within me. I did a lot of certifications. So I'm MBTI, I'm FireOB, Saville. So I did a lot of certifications and went deep into human behavior. And that's when I caught on to this whole idea of design thinking, when suddenly the world started talking about it. And I'm a researcher in the world of VUCA, the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So currently my entire research of the last 15 years is in the world of VUCA, where I've created a framework for organizations. And what came out in that framework was that organizations actually need to be highly design centric. Then I did a certification course in design thinking to really go deep into what design thinking is all about.
Wow.
Then I engaged with various multinational companies, and till date, while we're having this talk, 40 prototypes on different business frameworks and models have been developed and executed, tested, and monetized.
Wow.
Therefore, I don't teach design thinking. I actually go deep into applied problems of organizations and use design thinking to build models and frameworks so that they can succeed.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So let's back up a little bit. I mean, in terms of the trends that we are seeing on design thinking, especially for you in India, in corporations, in academia, are you tracing this back for what, good 10 years or more?
The design thinking bit, in fact, my research says design thinking existed eternally since the planet came into being. There's design all over, Komal. You just need to open your eyes. The universe is so perfectly designed. There are imperfections and perfections, and that's a part of the design. In the way back in the 1700th century, 1800, when steam, and then we moved into electricity, mechanization of the production systems, they were all designed. So design has always existed. I think now what's happening is the world, because it's dealing with very complex human-centric problems where the user experience is becoming paramount.
Mm,
Now the way designers think has been converted into a process. And that's your design thinking process.
I see. Okay.
So it's ancient. It's ancient.
It's ancient, right? Okay, but let's say if students want to study it, how do they go about that?
Well, there are a lot of courses available. Uh, and there are universities offering courses on design thinking in the US, in India, worldwide, even in Europe. There are universities providing that. We've built a massive course on design thinking,
Okay.
but I'm not here to sell that course, so I'm not going to talk about
No,
that.
no, actually talk about it. I'd love to know a little bit. Please go on. Yeah.
Well, when I did these 40 prototypes and when I started running war rooms on design thinking, because most of the people came to me with very complex problems, and typically during pandemic, a lot of complex problems came in. And then we realized that war rooms, when we were running, we didn't have the luxury of time to really teach them design thinking. So what we did was we gave them an e-learning program
Uh-huh.
where they completed that in record time, because it's a 40-hour program. They completed that in 6 to 7 days time, and then they would enter my war room. And therefore it became a transfer of learning, application of design thinking in a real life corporate situation. And therefore, this whole idea of design thinking, critical thinking, then I built up a program on business innovation. So there are 40 titles on the website of mine, the portal of mine, which is called Atyasa Online. And what we tend to do to organizations now is we say we'll custom make the combination or the bouquet of programs so that you're able to solve these problems.
I see.
And that's how design thinking becomes effective for us.
Okay, okay. Now, in terms of trends, what are we seeing in academia?
Big time. I think universities, engineering colleges, B schools are now picking up design thinking as a part of their credit courses. And it's becoming a part of the entrepreneurial courses also. In fact, a lot of innovation and incubators in colleges are now taking design thinking as a part of it. And it is being picked up as an essential skill for the young folks to really learn. So in India, colleges and universities are very serious about design thinking.
Okay. So, so the faculty probably needs to be trained too, right? To get to,
Now, that's where the challenge comes, Komal, because, one is the process of design thinking.
Yeah.
But to become a design thinker, you need such tremendous diversity of experience.
Mm.
And that you can gain only when you've solved enough problems in life. I think I've been blessed, a psychologist, an engineer, then moving into diverse industries because I became a consultant ultimately. And therefore, with having met all remarkable professionals, because I'm a CEO coach, right? So I work on CC-1. I pick up a lot of organizational interventions, very complex. Now that gave me the diversity of experience required to get deep into design thinking.
Right.
You can't teach design thinking. You got to do projects.
So how do we train the next generation of students? What are the skills they need to get into this?
So creative, everybody is creative.
Yeah.
The whole myth that, people are born creative and possibly, you can't build creativity, all that is myth. Everybody is born creative. It's just that we systematically degrade the creativity in human beings. But the aspect of design thinking is pick up any live problem, whether it's an entrepreneurial problem or it is a social problem, and then make students use design thinking to solve those problems. That's when they learn, because you need to do a lot of library work also before you really, kind of, it's a research methodology.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a lot of library work that goes behind it. You have to talk to experts. You have to interview a lot of people. So there's a humongous work that is required to be a design thinker. And unfortunately, not many people keep learning in their life.
Right, of course. You got to find those opportunities and keep learning. But
You got to be a part of the university. You yourself should be a student for life if you want to be a design thinker.
Yeah. We never stop learning as professors, I know. But for students, okay, somebody who's listening to our conversation here, what should they major in? What's the process? Like how do
Anything.
anything.
Komal, it can be, the beauty of design thinking is you could pass out of any stream.
Yeah.
Design thinking is for you. You design music, you design art, you design technology, you design nations.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if you look at great leaders who happened world over, they were great designers.
Yeah.
You know, teachers have been designers. You design great students for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So design is for everybody.
It's for everybody. So be in that state of mind, be in the design state of mind, right? And no matter what major you choose, in the end, learning that process of laying out things and being more sort of audience-centered, user-centered is the way to go.
I think one of the things about a design thinker is your empathy factor has to be so high that you should be able to involve yourself in the world of the stakeholders you're experiencing the problem, because it's no longer about you. It's about them.
And
that's the difference.
How do they go about finding a job? So what kind of jobs do they look for something like this?
I'm telling you, and I'm absolutely definite about it, the way I see the trends, tomorrow is for design thinkers only. Because the world is becoming exceedingly complex by the day. And with VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world that we're getting into, there's research that has happened over the last 30 years on this topic. Some people are taking it seriously, some people are not taking it seriously, but you don't know what's going to happen next quarter.
Right.
That's the situation. Design thinkers are going to be in demand. I laid a bet on one of the colleges in India who wanted to teach design thinking, and I went there to teach. And I said, let your students do a design thinking project in the area where they want to pick up a job. Let them go to the interview, and with the interviewer discuss the problem that they solved through design thinking. They're bound to get a job. And did they? Absolutely they did.
Yeah. Wow. So there is honestly no doubt that human-centered designing, will and will, see evolution, right? But I feel like it's such a powerful process based on what I'm hearing from you, and many companies will seek it, and so students need to pay attention to it.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, Niket. I hope your story and our conversation here will help a student somewhere who is considering a career in this.
Absolutely. They should just go for it.